regardless of what you see in the world, and a lot of it can look terrible, remember at all times, you're never really ever alone, that your mind is the gateway.
Hello, everybody. What's up? And welcome to the Evolution Podcast, the first episode. My name is Sagi Schreiber, and I'll be co-hosting the show. Together with me are Mr. Johnson, Terrance X Johnson. How are you, Mr. J?
Doing well, my friend. How are you?
Great. And we have Ethan P. Heisey. What's up, Ethan?
Hey there, everybody.
Awesome. So today, the purpose of the show is just to give you guys a brief understanding of what the show is going to be about and how it can help you. And this is our main purpose here, is to give you a big promise and to over-deliver on that promise. So let's start with that. Because Mr. J, before we went and recorded, you we talked about like what is the purpose of the show. And I think you put it together very well. So I'll just let you explain what the show is about, what it's about to give people.
What it's about? What is this podcast about? This podcast, with so many people in the industry, there's so many individuals giving advice, and what we're wanting to do is truly make an impact on everyone's life, the young, the old, and everyone in between, to show them that you deserve to be successful, that you can be successful. But there are a lot of things that are just never spoken about, particularly your spirituality, how that plays into manifestation and things that you want and desire in your life. And just bringing a good vibe, a good energy, a great deal of knowledge and practical wisdom that will give you tangible results, not pie in the sky, but things that you can literally do that will really, truly help you in your life, and kind of a holistic approach to the whole thing. So we have a lot to cover.
Definitely. So you guys are going to get a great deal of business knowledge, a great deal of spiritual knowledge, and practical advice of those, so you can apply it to your own lives and businesses. This is something that we're very excited to share with you. Now, just to give it all context. So Ethan and I are mentees of Mr. J, or Mr. Johnson. We're going to call him Mr. J in the show, but so Mr. Johnson is a super successful businessman. He's going to be so humble as he always is, but he has so many accolades and experience under his belt. But I think what really I can speak about Mr. J is that he has wisdom that I haven't heard anybody kind of sharing that way before, until I kind of first heard him talk on Ethan's mastermind. So it was kind of like, that's how we met, at least. And we'll share the story in a bit. But I think that's the thing that really talked to me back then, Mr. J, when you were talking at this first mastermind, at Ethan's mastermind. It was kind of, you were sharing spiritual practices with business practicality. So, and that connection was something that nobody really talks about. And you achieving everything that you achieved in business is just, it's kind of like the living proof of spiritual practices coming into play in business. And I think that's the beautiful thing about it. And that's how it applies to me specifically. Ethan, what about you?
I agree with everything you said there. It's there's one thing running a business, in my opinion, but also to apply it to one thing that I've noticed, especially for Mr. Johnson and even you, is that every entrepreneur, successful entrepreneur, has to have faith to a certain level. And what I've enjoyed learning from Mr. Johnson is how he applies the faith to his business. And just from the short time I've known him over the past couple of years, I've seen the fruits of that. And that's what I'm excited for everyone here to learn from.
Definitely.
I got to chime in. I just want everyone to know, I didn't pay them to say that. I didn't pay anybody to say that. And it's very, I appreciate those kind words from both of you gentlemen very much. I was glad to see that you feel that way. Thank you so much.
No, definitely. And just to give also like some more context, and we're going to spill some more and more context on why we launched this podcast and what's in it for everybody here listening right now. So we actually have been running about a year on weekly rooms on Clubhouse. So we had weekly rooms on Clubhouse where the three of us went live on stage and kind of like we brought in our communities. So Ethan has his community, which is called Exponential Freedom, and I have my community, which is called Commit First. I also have a podcast, Commit First. It's another podcast that I've been running for the past 4 years. We both come from different kind of backgrounds. Ethan's like 25 years old, right? Young entrepreneur, but super successful already. And I'm almost 39 right now as the time of this recording. And I have a couple businesses going, and I think like both of us come like from different backgrounds, but we're really connected to Mr. J as a mentor. And when we started kind of like both of us are mentees of Mr. J, and we said, why not bring Mr. J to the masses? So that's why we opened Clubhouse. But when we opened Clubhouse, we saw that for these, weekly sessions, people are so tuned in to Mr. J's message that they're just like left blank. So on Clubhouse, you want people to share and speak and chime in, but nobody could really chime in a lot on what Mr. J said. And that's why we said, let's make it a podcast. Let's make it more scalable. Let's give it the platform that, Mr. J deserves here. Or Mr. Johnson. Sorry, I keep like, from me or Mr. J, but yeah. And the thing about it is like, this is a scalable platform. So first of all, let's talk about the fee of this show. The fee of this show, everyone, is to share it. Like, that's it. If you got value from this, please share it with your friends. Send it over on whatever community you have. If whatever episode you're going to listen to that's going to give you value, please share it with the world. Because we think, Ethan and I, that and obviously Mr. Johnson, that this knowledge should be shared. This knowledge should be consumed by the masses. Ethan and I have our weekly sessions with Mr. J, as our coach, as a mentor. But that's not enough for the world, right? We don't want to keep it all up for ourselves. And Mr. Johnson has a very successful mentoring program. So I can already plug that in for a second and to say, if anybody wants, a very successful mentor to help him out, Mr. J got a program. You guys can reach out to Mr. J later. And by the way, we can throw shameless plugs whenever. This is our show. We can do whatever we want. All right.
Correct.
So, all right. Right. So this is the context of how this show started from Clubhouse. First of all, us as mentees wanting to bring Mr. J to the masses, and then after that saying, okay, wait, Clubhouse is not enough. It's not scalable. Not, at least not for this, for someone like Mr. Johnson speaking. So let's do it as a podcast. And that's why we started this podcast, in order for it to scale. But the only way it will scale, if you guys are sharing it with other people, and if you guys will rate us on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. That's the only way it's going to be like scalable. And obviously we want to over deliver on our promise to you, for you to get business and spiritual practical knowledge to apply to your lives and businesses. And I think it's going to happen because Ethan and I are very curious about what Mr. J is sharing. So we have a lot of questions for him. But here's the kicker. We're also going to let you ask questions, right? And we're going to have a website up, and we're going to share it on the next episode. We are going to let you ask the questions that Mr. J can answer on the call, not only Ethan and myself. So without further ado, I think we should intro each of ourselves. How about Mr. J? How about you begin?
Okay, what can I tell you about myself? My name is Terrance Johnson. I reside in Atlanta, Georgia. I've been here about 23 years. I've been married 27 years to my lovely wife, Marie. I have a beautiful daughter, Tiana, 3 beautiful grandchildren, great son-in-law, Chris. I have a very good life. I really do. Worked very hard to obtain it. Was nothing handed to me, I can assure you of that. But at this stage in life, it's all about giving back. It's about making an impact. Obviously, there are a lot of issues and challenges we're facing as a society, as a civilization. And where I'm at in my life, it's supposed to give you all my business accolades and vice president of this and this, that, and the third. We can cover that at another time. But I'm a regular person. I'm just an older gentleman, if you will. And I'm just very passionate about seeing people win and become successful and telling them the truth. So, and that's me in a nutshell. I don't know what you want me to say. I can talk for hours, but I want to kind of keep it brief.
Yeah, no, I love that. But I'm gonna just add for a second. People are listening and they're like, okay, why should we listen to Mr. J if they don't know you, right? And I'm gonna just say, right, you built like TCJ Aerotech, right, the number one drone company
Right.
in the United States.
Right. Well, you know what? As I say to people all the time, why should you listen? Well, I would say I want to give you some false answer. Why not listen? If someone's willing to offer you some advice, you hopefully, if you're in a position to where you're wanting to learn and you want to acquire knowledge, and someone comes across, hopefully you would hear something that resonates with you, that would make you want to listen to whatever's being said. I'm not a psychic or a prophet, so to speak. I can't sit here and say, why someone should do something, but I do believe in universal principles and just in the vibrating of success itself. Even us starting this podcast, I truly believe and know that it will be successful, not through anything other than the belief of it. And that's another conversation to have, but to show people that, why should someone listen? I would say, why wouldn't they listen? Is the cup half full or is it half empty? It really comes down to one's perception. But what my goal is simple: to add some type of value to your life, to get you to see that life is worth living. You're not an accident. No matter what challenges or level of adversities come your way, that you can overcome these things. There's nothing's truly impossible. That faith and prayer and effort and being consistent and being determined and being confident and all these things really do matter. They really do matter. They're just not empty words. So I would hope that people would listen, because maybe God or a higher consciousness, because so many people subscribe to so many different belief systems, would guide them, if you will, if it would be beneficial to them, and I really believe that. I don't believe in coincidences or accidents. There's a level of effort and thought as we go about the laws of creation, but there's also a level of predestination or predetermined things, that things are meant to happen. And I believe this is our time for these things to happen, for us to bring this type of message and knowledge to the masses, if you will.
Definitely. And it's not a coincidence you guys are listening to the show right now. There's a reason. And but again, like you're mega successful. Like you guys can look up Terrance Johnson if you want, but built a very successful company, ex-Disney executive, also worked as an executive in ESPN, and also a very credited like investor, with like a lot of different investments in place. So like super, like you built a super successful life for yourself in terms of business and finances, and investments. And also I think like now in terms of mentorships, because now your mentorship program is like so successful. You just started it like 2 years ago or so, but even less, I guess, but it's like, it's crazy. So, I mean, the amount of success that you had, and you know what inspires me every time, like you're happy, you're a happy person. Like, and that's what you don't get to see, right? Like you listen to all these like entrepreneurs, some of them are always mad and intense, and some of them are always kind of like, just, you see something evil in them. I don't know how to even say it. Right. And with you, it's just pure, always like, just, you're a happy person. Yeah. And a loving person.
You know what? It's imperative as you grow older, God willing, you'll grow wiser. Now, as I tell many of my mentees, just because you get older does not mean you're particularly going to gain wisdom. True wisdom is acquired by knowledge, not by age, because one can grow to be an old fool. You can be a foolish old man or a foolish old woman. And a lot of it is built in with anger, fear, resentment, and disappointment. They've lived their life, they're not happy. And this is another thing I would convey to people: just because you have money doesn't mean you won't have any problems and you're going to be happy all the time. None of that's true. Now, don't get me wrong. It's cool to have bread. You got to get the bag, make your money, take care of your family, the whole nine. Totally get it. But what I found is it's not the end all, the be all. It is not. It is a tool. And it's really depending. What money does is simple. It brings out what you really are. Mm-hmm. If you are an evil, abusive person and you get a lot of money, it's going to exacerbate that. If you are a kind, giving person, you're going to do more of that. So money could be a great tool either way. But that's neither here nor there.
I love that because people are just chasing success like everywhere, and not enough people are talking about not chasing, like, attaining happiness. And I think one of the things that you keep asking us, at least I know you're asking me, you're probably asking Ethan as well, like, are you happy? Like, you always stop me in the middle, like, Sagi, are you happy right now? Like, and that's so important. Like, I put happiness, on one of the top priorities that I haven't had it before, kind of like in my life. And it takes a lot, like there's a whole like umbrella of things under happiness, because it's a very vague term when you now start breaking it down. What is happiness? But we're going to talk about it on the show. So Mr. J, thank you for introducing yourself. I'm going to bring the mic over to Ethan.
Well, I'm not sure how to follow that one. So, but I've personally been married for a little over 2 years now. I got married during the pandemic, which was a fun experience, for sure. And now Megan, my wife, and I, we run a financial planning firm together. So we've been doing that now for a little bit. When we got married, I was like, hey, you no longer have to work. So she now works with me in the business. We also run another business called Exponential Freedom, where it's a group of entrepreneurs who come to listen to various successful entrepreneurs speak about how they became successful too. So that's a bit about me.
Love it. So I'll introduce myself real quick. My name is Sagi Schreiber. I'm about almost 39 years old, a father of 3, and I am from Israel. I am not in the US. I reside in Israel. That's where I was born and raised. I lived 3 years in the US, by the way. I don't know if you guys know this, but I lived 3 years in Minneapolis. That's where I got my English as a kid. But anyway, regardless, I have a few businesses. One of them is a UI UX design agency, because that's how I kind of came up. I was the first designer at Fiverr.com, which IPO'd. Then I had my own startups. Then one of them got acquired by a company called SimilarWeb, which later IPO'd as well. And then after that, I started my own agency, now helping other startups to kind of create their UI UX. And besides that, I have Israel's largest design blog, where I have online courses and that I run. And I've been teaching UI UX for about like 4 years now here in Israel. And also, besides that, I have Commit First, which is the show for entrepreneurship. And that's where I share my journey. Even before I met you guys, I've had you guys know my story and everything, coming like starting my business, like becoming finally a real entrepreneur, like, on my own, and not really succeeding. And I already had a family and a mortgage and everything like that. And I was a sole provider, and I fell into debt, and I had to kind of, revisit the way I even think, or I had to reprogram my mind. And I brought in a coach from the United States. I flew him into Israel. He helped me create my business and everything I have, basically start everything I have now, with just creating, but just like understanding the mindset needed and the practicalities needed in order to create and run a successful business. And I think like what we're doing right now, like, especially like, with Mr. J, like, it's like, I don't know, it's like I started as a white belt. I think like I'm right now like a blue or brown belt, I think, in business, just really learning like a ton from Mr. J on our sessions, and applying it. And what I've been learning is that it starts from working hard, but actually it's not about, the hard work. It's about knowing your priorities, your values, and working on yourself and doing the inner work. And that's what we keep talking about. That's what we're going to talk about in the show. Everybody's talking about the metaverse and everything nowadays. Nobody's talking enough about the innerverse. And that's something that we would definitely like to talk with you guys about. So this show is going to be very short. We introed ourselves. We talked about the context of why we're starting this podcast. We talked about what you guys are going to get from this. We also notified you that you're going to be able to ask questions. And we notified you about the fee of the show. Remember the fee. Share it with someone if you find value in it. Obviously, this episode is just an intro episode. You don't have to really find a lot of value in it. But just to say, the next episodes are going to be amazing for you guys. We know it because we've been on Clubhouse. We've been getting, probably everybody is listening to this show at the beginning is from the Clubhouse rooms that we launched. And you guys really like share with everyone. We want it to be successful and want that message of hope we wanted to spread it to as many entrepreneurs as possible, as many people in the world as possible. Mr. Johnson here has such an amazing message out. And that's kind of our purpose, to share it with everyone. Anybody want to add to that?
Sure. I would say this, because I know we're going to wrap this up here, but we're super excited about what's to come in the future. I would say to any who would listen, obviously, I just want to reiterate what Sagi was saying. Please share it. We want to get the message out, a message of hope, inspiration. And I would leave everyone with this, regardless of what you see in the world, and a lot of it can look terrible. There's war, there's a pandemic, there's economic crisis. There are all these things that are happening, the ebb and flow of life itself. But if you woke up today and you have breath, remember at all times, you're never really ever alone, that your mind is the gateway. Everything starts with thought. Think rightly of yourself. Don't beat yourself up. Build yourself up. And hopefully, God willing, we'll speak soon.
Love that. Ethan, any last words?
I want to say I'm super excited to have this journey with you guys. And just tune into the next one. I don't even know what we're going to talk about, but it's going to be super fantastic.
There you go, Ethan. Use the term super fantastic.
Super fantastic. All right, guys. All right. Love it. So everybody here, by the way, where can people find you guys, Mr. J?
Well, you can reach out to me at Terrance at TCJ Aerotech. That's T as in Tom, C as in Charlie, J as in Joseph, Aerotech, AEROTECH.com. You can shoot me an email. We'll have our website up for this podcast here shortly, and so that you guys can reach out, particularly if you're looking for mentorship in business and spiritual development as well. We do have a few slots available, so we'll be bringing that to you as well. So that's how you can reach out to me.
Awesome. Ethan?
If you want to contact me, just look me up on LinkedIn. It's the easiest way to do it. Send me a direct message.
Awesome. And for me right now, if you guys want to contact, you can definitely just visit me on Instagram. It's Sagi Schreiber. It's SAGISHRIEBER on Instagram. Or you can just search on YouTube or podcast, any podcast app. Just search for Commit First, and you also find a lot of inspiration on my other podcast. So that, if you want to reach out to either of us, you can definitely feel free to do so. And obviously, if you want to join the mentoring group of Mr. J, you can ask me and Ethan about it individually, and we can, give you some feedback about it. But this is, again, this is all goodness. We want to just bring you guys the really practical knowledge and wisdom. Hope you guys have an amazing, super fantastic rest of your day and week, wherever you are in the world. We'll see you on the next episode.